say I voted for the opposite person, and then usually it just never works, whatever I do. I don't know. All right. Michael, are you ready? Help welcome up Mr. Michael Frame.
Good evening. My name is Michael Frame, and 4 years ago I was elected to represent my community in the Missouri House of Representatives. I'd like to take just a few minutes of your time to talk about how I've been working with the families and the businesses of my district to build a better community. Shortly after I was elected, I held a town hall meeting to discuss the behavior and professionalism of the Burns Mill Police. Kind of a delicate subject to tackle, but anyone who's lived in Northwest Jefferson County for any length of time has heard the stories regarding this police department, and many of them are not very pretty. Most of the legislators will tell you that when we hold a town hall meeting and we're lucky enough to get 100 folks to come out for a town hall meeting, it's usually because they've invited their family, their friends, and anyone who's owed them money. If you look around here tonight, there's probably about 100 people here tonight. We have every state legislator in the room right here. Folks, at this town hall meeting, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of my neighbors turned out to discuss this issue. Obviously, it was an issue that resonated very well. And we had about a 3.5-hour conversation as community member after community member walked up to the microphone and told a story of what had happened to them at the hands of the Burns Mill Police. Now, if something's wrong, I believe that sunlight is the best disinfectant, and that's what was the purpose of holding such a town hall meeting like that. After the meeting was over, one of the Burns Mill Board of Aldermen members turned to the Burns Mill mayor and said, you know, if half of what we heard tonight is true, we have a huge problem. To which the mayor replied, if 5% of what we heard tonight is true, we have a huge problem. I believe that a significant percentage of what I heard that night was true. And we went right to work with the mayor of Burns Mill, beginning steps to reform the city and the police department and the way they do business. We were able to eliminate what folks perceive to be a speed trap over on Highway W at the Big River Bridge. Used to go 55 to 35, and most times than not, there'd be a Burns Mill police officer on the other side of the bridge just to make sure you were doing down to 35. Today it goes 55 to 45 for 2,000 feet to 35. What we wanted to do was provide folks a legal and safe area to reduce their speed. I said today it does, and actually today it's under construction, so it's 35 all the way through, but it will return back from 55 to 45, 2,000 feet down to 35. We also greatly reduced the number of tickets that were issued the next year. We pushed for video cameras in all the police cars and microphones on all the police officers, because on too many occasions, the stories that we hear were complaints not about getting a speeding ticket, but it was complaints about the way they were treated when they received that ticket. And I think that those video cameras have greatly helped. My neighbors do tell me that when they do have encounters now, it's much more friendly. I did go back to Jefferson City and help craft legislation that would reduce the amount, percentage that a city like Burns Mill could use for traffic fines, the percentage that was legally for them to accept in traffic fines for the general revenue. So when standing up to a police department is a pretty tough thing to do, but I can tell you, when times were tough, when the chips were down, I was the one standing up there. I was the one making the tough voice, and I'm happy to do it because I was standing up for my community. Things were pretty well for the next several months until the city of Burns Mill proposed, the city leaders of Burns Mill proposed annexing portions of the House Springs Business District. This is an area just off Highway 30 there at W and MM, and the folks, it's not a town, but it's a community, and the folks like their independence over there. I thought the way that the city of Burns Mill went about proposing that was just patently unfair. They cherry-picked an area where there were no voters, only struggling small business owners. Their plan was to take $100,000 out of these businesses, and by the way of sales tax, property tax, utility tax, and a business license fee, and what they wanted to do was to take that money and build themselves a big city hall. I just thought it was wrong. So I went in and I got volunteers. We had about 25 volunteers each weekend. We went over, we knocked doors, we found the voters we needed to win that election. We actually found 325 Burns Mill residents who told us that they would vote no. Keep in mind, in this particular election, only Burns Mill residents got to vote. The folks who were being taxed didn't get to vote. The folks receiving the tax were the ones that got to vote. But these folks are good people. They realized this was patently unfair. They told us they would vote no. We called those folks, started the week before the election. We called them every single day, sometimes 2 times a day. We called them so much they told us, if you call me one more time, I'm going to vote in favor of this annexation. We were calling 325 Burns Mill residents on election day, 331 voted no, and the annexation was defeated. But I went back to Jefferson City and I passed legislation, makes Burns Mill the most regulated city in the state. Governor Nixon signed that legislation on July 13th. Again, it was tough, it wasn't easy, but I was more than willing to stand up for my community because that's what I get paid to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Don't forget about the water we have over here, courtesy of Kevin's Car Care.